Hello, and welcome to the Review of Champions. I am your host, Grandmaster. Phase 3 kicked off with a Captain America movie. The Russo brothers returned for Captain America Civil War. The movie gave us an awesome battle on an airport, which was the culmination of the Avengers being torn apart throughout the movies. Until this day, anyone who frequents the fandom regularly online gets asked if you are Team Cap or Team Iron Man on a regular basis. This movie is a tentpole movie in the Infinity Saga. It also introduced us to new characters. A Black Panther and Spider Man swung their way into the MCU and they came out solid as vibranium. We also saw the first, but certainly not the last, callback to The Incredible Hulk, a movie often considered one of the weaker MCU films, especially. It was early days, but Thunderbolt Ross returned to stay. So, Captain America movie kicked off this phase. Or was it an Avengers movie? Also, this debate regularly gets resparked inside the fandom. We certainly will dive into all of this and all the other questions during our review of Captain America Civil War. And I'm not going to do that alone, of course. Let me introduce you to our champions. First up, we have Merv. How are you?
I am fantastic.
And voice only, we have Loki's mom. How are you?
Doing well.
Hmm. No puns this time. Okay. Well, I hope the punches will come during our review. Um, well, let's just get the first thing out of the way, and I will start with you, Murph. Team Iron Man or Team Captain America?
you know, uh, if I have to pick one, I have to go Team Captain America. But there was a once upon a time where I'm sure I would have been Team Iron Man because it is the emotionally acceptable response to finding out that the man who killed your parent is standing right next to you. Of course, you're going to fly into a murderous rage. So it's understandable, but I will say the more mature me is going to go Team Captain America.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Civilized you. That would have been a better pun. But anyway, Loki's mom, I'm going to ask you the same question, of course. Were you Team Cap or were you Team Iron Man?
Well, that's a hard choice, but they're equal as far as the movies go. But I'm just going to have to go with my favorite actor, so it'll be Team Iron Man.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna just come out and say it. When the movie came out, I was Team Iron Man, and after I saw it, I was still Team Iron Man based on the morality of the show. The line, "If we don't get boundaries, then we're no better than the bad guys." That's actually correct. So I thought Steve went rogue and understandably rogue if you see his friendship with Bucky, but yeah, uh, Steve tore the Avengers apart. I'm 100% convinced of that. Yeah, come at me in the comments. But anyway, uh, Loki's mom, I just want to know when you saw Civil War for the first time in a movie theater, I guess, were you as impressed as I was?
Well, yeah, it's visually impressive. I mean, very much so. I mean, golly, all the action scenes were well done, and I can't complain about that. I think that it got a little cornbally, particularly when it was that one airport brawl that I think was overdone. Too much of that. Yeah, this is definitely not a Captain America movie. This is an Avengers movie. Um,
We'll get into that later, but
okay,
let's focus on the movie itself first before we start that debate.
okay,
Uh,
all right, we'll do. Um, okay, now I lost my train of thought.
oh my god, sorry. Well, let's talk about the two characters that got introduced. Of course, first we get the introduction of Black Panther. Chadwick Boseman joined the MCU. Unfortunately, he already is no longer with us. But what were your impressions of Black Panther, T'Challa, in this movie?
Yeah, that I mean, like I said, I enjoyed the characters and whatnot. I enjoyed the fact that Black Panther was introduced into this film. I mean, I wasn't familiar with the character, but he really um, it, the character the who's the actor who played him? I'm sorry,
Chadwick Boseman.
Chadwick Boseman. Really, he really brought the character to life. I mean, he's what made the character. I think in the beginning. Yeah, here again, it's like the his father is also killed, but he's killed by I guess by the Baron Nemo character. Uh, and so they have their scene there at the end where he has to do the sort of the same. He could let him just blow his brains out, but he stops him. So yeah, I think my biggest issue as far as too many characters, though, I think was when you had Ant Man pop up and you had Here Comes Spider Man, and yeah, I don't think they were necessary to this story. I think they just clogged it up as far as that goes. It was
Mhm.
too long. The movie was too long, too many characters, and I think that's my biggest complaint about it. I think the script could have been a little bit better. Here, I think it was a lot of just silly lines and whatnot thrown around. That was when you consider this is how serious this story goes. But yeah, but we also we got to see Vision and his relationship developing with Wanda, and of course she's her guilt complex and everything because she used her it was her powers that destroyed the where they're in Africa. I think Lagos is the country where they're at, and of course it inadvertently destroys half of a building. Uh, as far as that goes, I mean, it, there's nothing really that stands out that makes it greater than any of the other, better than any of the other Avenger or character standalone character films. Um, but I don't have a lot of complaints against it though. But yeah, it did look really great on the screen.
Mhm. Yeah, well, Merv, Loki's mom thought there were too many characters, but when I saw that big caption said Queens, I was fist pumping because I knew what was coming.
Yeah, for sure. And like if you had followed whatever this movie was in production or whatever, like I remember whenever it was announced that like Spider-Man is going to be able to be used by Marvel, the MCU. So it felt um like maybe not a last minute addition, but like a late addition to this story. But in my eyes, a well deserved one and like a really fun one to have. So yeah, that
Mhm.
was immediately exciting whenever that scene came out.
Yeah, your thoughts about uh, well this movie in general when you first saw it in the movie theater? What did it do for you?
Sure. Um, I mean, I always remember really thinking highly of it whenever I saw it in the theater. I've seen it, I've rewatched it so many times now that it kind of gets lost in like what my initial thoughts were and what the most latest ones are. But I do remember, um, again, not entering it, but I do remember thinking like this is this close to being an Avengers movie in all the good ways to me, which is fine. But I also think it continues Captain America's story from his own movies in a well thought out way, particularly him and Bucky, who go all the way back to the first film, and then of course Agent Carter in that whole dynamic. Um, it all gets fleshed out very well. Uh, I I didn't have any issue with the number of characters in this, especially because we're already introduced to so many of them. But this movie does introduce quite a bit. I mean, we're seeing this version of Spider-Man for the first time. We're seeing Black Panther for the first time. We're introduced fully to Wakanda. They mention Wakanda in I think Age of Ultron, but you don't actually see it or see people from it until this film. So I think that was all really good. Um, uh, Ant Man, of course, we just had the Ant Man movie and we saw him interact with Falcon, but to see his dynamic with other characters and to see him go full giant form, which we didn't see in his movie, I don't think, was awesome to me. I love that. So this movie did a lot for me. The thing I noticed. most recently is how absolutely fantastic I find the action sequences. I think that's what makes it stand out this time around. Is even the like everyone remembers the airport battle. You know, everybody remembers the big three-way fight at the end with between Captain America, Iron Man, and Bucky. But like the first interaction between Captain America and Winter Soldier in his apartment, whenever they're trying to escape his apartment, just before you first see Black Panther show up in full costume, the fight before, like everyone remembers the fight after Black Panther shows up and they're chasing him down the freeway and they're outrunning like speeding cars. But like the fight in the stairwell, I was thinking to myself as that was happening, like, is this before or after Daredevil made like fight? You know, the Netflix Daredevil made these stairwell fight scenes popular.
After, but it
Yeah,
rivals it.
but it's absolutely fantastic. And I was just like, it doesn't even matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's like taking a sample from that, like, 'cause it's so good. And then I actually totally forgot that like that led right into Black Panther's first appearance in costume. And I was like, this is the same action sequence. Like, this is so good to me. Like, I remember thinking that as I was watching it this time. And then of course every other, you know, action sequence is top notch. So to me, that's like the huge standout is like this movie never slows down for me. Like even in the slow scenes, because they went with the Zemo character in like this whole his plan, which works. You know, he won. You know, before Thanos, Zemo does win in a lot of ways. You know, so yeah, I have nothing but the highest regard for this film. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I could probably rant and rave about so many things for hours on end at this point
Mm,
because it's
yeah.
so fresh in my brain.
Maybe I will let you do that a little bit more later.
Yeah.
Okay. Loki's mom, you already said you thought this was an Avengers movie. Can you explain why you don't think it's a Captain America movie?
Well, I see Murr's point about it. It ties into the him trying to save, finally trying to save Bucky um, from the curse of being a super soldier, and under the spell of course, Baron Zemo gets the code book and is able to control Bucky at that point. But he does rescue him from that. But even so, I think it's really, you'd almost have to say it's a Captain America, Iron Man plus, plus Iron Man movie, and do it that, maybe you could do it that way. But yeah, his, I don't think that plot point is greater than what Tony's having to go through, because it really starts out with Tony's the backflash of his parents being killed, and it was the Winter Soldier who did it, and then yeah, so I don't know. I guess they just didn't have any other way to do it, but yeah, I would definitely say this is more of an Avengers than a Captain America.
Okay, fair enough. I found the interesting contrast between how Iron Man handles being with the killer of his parents and Black Panther being with the killer of his father.
Hmm.
There's a strange. They handle it both differently, and I think that how they handle this is actually the core of the whole movie. Whether you're Team Cap or Team Iron Man, do you respond emotionally or do you respond rationally? And I really enjoy that the different approach Black Panther takes. The
Hmm.
living are not done with you yet. I really because he knows killing him would be the easy way out for the murderer. It sparks an interesting debate, doesn't it, Malokismom?
Yeah, because as I said, Baron Zemo is he's actually going to shoot himself, kill himself, and so T'Challa would have never had anything. He wouldn't have been responsible for that. But he stops him because I think he has compassion. He listened to his the Baron's, what motivated him to go after the Avengers, and watching his family die and having to find him from all that rubble. And the Avengers go back to their big used Carl out or whatever his showroom in New York, and he's stuck, with nothing. Um, so he takes the wrong path, absolutely, but but he's a weak man. He doesn't have any powers at all. The only thing he has is his intellect. I think it's funny where they have him at the very end, locked up in this. What's he gonna do? You know, he has no superpowers. He has no
Hmm.
more influence over Bucky at that point. So you could just put him in a regular jail cell, save some money. Anyway, but yeah, it was a very interesting contrast, and like I said, I think the characterizations were well done in this movie. I'm not criticizing it too harshly. I think my criticisms were minor to the actual story of what it was about, and very much in the theme of this redemption arc that no one's really seems to be left out in the MCU. Even the worst characters have potential to be redeemed. So that's one thing that I guess the hallmark of the MCU, and I appreciate that.
Hmm. Yeah, me too. Irv, your thoughts on this contrast between how T'Challa handles things and Tony?
Yeah, I I think it's fair to say too that like T'Challa's initial reaction was about on par as Tony's.
Yeah,
He was out for revenge. Those claws were swiping every chance they could get at Bucky, and it was really only after the process had gone on for so long and he realized that it's misdirected and he has a couple minutes to calm down that he actually like comes to his wise self. So I do think there's a bit of that. It's not entirely fair to compare one to one in that situation because I think his reaction is very similar initially. Um, but yeah, the I guess juxtaposition of those two reactions I think is really interesting, and it goes a long way toward really making you fall in love with the Black Panther character too. I mean, Chadwick Boseman already did that throughout the movie, but you see how empathetic the character is, like um, how heroic. He comes off as really heroic in this scene. He's saving the bad guy, the man who actually killed his father, from hurting himself. So that I mean, it's a really powerful scene, I think.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, another thing too, we have to remember as far as where Tony's coming from, and it's not a good place. Is he has so much blood on his hands already. I mean, he's T'Challa. As far as we know, this is the first time he's ever gone into the revenge game. So I mean, he's sort of a virgin, as it were, to the evils of what goes on in the West because he's been able to live in sort of that paradise, which we don't really see it yet in this movie, but we'll see it later on. That Wakanda is almost too good. It is too good to be true. But it's a fantasy movie. But anyway, but yeah, Tony has really, he had nothing to do with his parents being killed or anything like that. But his father certainly played a part in his being killed because he was trans. He had that super soldier serum, and hopefully, I guess he was trying to protect it. But even so, it was, he's been behind God knows what as far as building the administering that serum because we see some of that a little bit later on in the Winter Falcon and Winter Soldier, where during the 50s they were experimenting and whatnot. So, yeah, Howard Stark is not a good man, and in many ways, and neither is Tony. So,
Yeah, he has his flaws, Tony.
yeah, absolutely, a lot of faults, but and of course later down the road, as we find out, he has to pay. He pays for it with his life. So
Yeah, yeah,
that's
absolutely.
how these stories work sometimes.
Okay, I remember walking out of the theater and immediately knew this is the best MCU movie so far. This movie 13, it goes straight up to number one in my ranking. Uh, Murph, I saw your ranking today on the board, so it's not a complete fair question, but okay, let's go back to when you first saw it. Did you have the same kind of thoughts, or?
Um, it's definitely like when I first saw it, I feel like there's only a couple of movies that could even compare to how much I enjoyed this one, and that would be the first Avengers film and maybe Guardians of the Galaxy. I think, especially at the time, I clearly enjoyed this one more than Winter Soldier, more than everything else in Phase One, more than everything in Phase Two. Man, minus maybe the Guardians of the Galaxy. So it was already in that ballpark. And on this latest one, I basically just thought to myself, you know, the it's to me, and this is why I do kind of feel in part that it's as much an Avengers movie as much as a Captain America movie. Because I was comparing it to the first Avengers film. I was like, well, I mean, this is the first time that I had these highs and in this ride and these characters together, and it really was groundbreaking in that sense. But this like took everything that the first Avengers broke that ground for and like elevated it in so many ways that yeah, it was definitely always in the conversation. I don't know that I had it as high as I currently have it, which is at the top of the list
No.
at this point in my MCU rewatch. I
The, the thing
enjoy it.
is, the first Avengers movie, they brought the team together. We had six heroes fighting together against a mindless, numbless army. The second movie, the team remained the same until they fought the final battle against a mindless. Only they had three additions. One was killed, and the other two were joining them for the first time. Now we get like 12 heroes fighting each other, and two of the main Avengers aren't even there. They're misplaced, as Thunderbolt Ross points out at the beginning of
Yeah,
the movie. So you get all these new characters interacting and fighting each other, and I mean, and that made it so great for me. I mean, you get different dynamics, you get different, you see all the skills and the powers they have. Combined or contradicting each other. I really enjoyed that airport battle. Lokismom, you had some criticism about it. You say it was a little bit too long, a little bit too much.
Well, it was too much in the fact that the movie was already almost up to 2 hours at that point. I mean, getting close to it. Uh, the first time I saw it, it's and this is the great thing about the MCU, these movies. You have to watch them more than once to get the meaning out of it.
Hmm.
The first time you see it, it's spectacle. It's great. You don't know what's coming, and so you kind of just let it wash over you. And then I think, and this is what I found out because we've been doing these retrospectives. Um, Second and third viewing, you really get to see a lot of stuff that we're pointing out here. The dynamic between the characters, the complexity of them, the complexity of the storylines.
The
Um,
themes.
there for a while there was a lot of famous film directors just putting MCU down, but I don't think they understood that this is true cinema in every sense of the word. And it's yeah, I have nothing but great things to say about the MCU in that point, despite some of the downsides of the bad movies that come along. Yeah, as far as that airport scene, to me it was just a little too much, considering the story. It kind of got a little too wacky. There was the line that Spider-Man, well, he references Star Wars, and for
Yeah, I'm
some
annoyed by that.
reason,
By the way, I'm,
well,
I'm remember that really old movie. Boy, I was 7 years old when that movie came out. That's not old. That's like yesterday.
well, the thing is, and this is my own personal peeve, it just kind of gripes me when they do those types of references. you know, because with everything that's going on in their particular world, it you know it,
I just wonder how Nick
yeah.
Fury looks at the prequels from Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, why would anybody be even going
Yeah,
looking at a Star Wars movie now? I mean, if we got aliens coming, literally coming out of the sky, I'm not going to go watch Star Wars because that's going to be just
yeah,
silly, passe, obsolete.
yeah.
um, I'll say this: there's one thing that did happen to me a little bit. It's got nothing to do with the movie. This movie depressed me a little bit
Oh,
because, for what I'm just saying, the reality, the reality around us is that we have a lot of super villains now, but we have absolutely no heroes to come save us. So that depresses me.
yeah. No, we'll save that debate for another time, perhaps.
Absolutely, yeah.
um, yeah. Um, I just love Civil War. I think it was at that the moment it came out the best MCU movie by a mile. For all the reasons mentioned by the champions, uh, and yeah, um, it was later topped, but at that time I thought it would never be topped. But anyway, um, like I said, it was a tenable movie for also the our Infinity Saga because this movie tears the Avengers apart. There are several factions going around, and people are not on speaking terms anymore. They do have each other's phone number, but yeah, it has major ramifications for the rest of what's going to happen in the Infinity Saga. Um, did you realize that immediately when you saw the movie, Lokismom?
Oh no, no, not at all. Like I say, the characters were just um, like I say. I think the unfamiliarity of a few of the characters. I think that was another thing that slowed it down. I guess they had a reason for putting them all in there for the future movies. Um, but no, at the time, it didn't really dawn on me that this is how it was going to go. I think it was only probably till I got up to Ragnarok, and I'll say okay now, and you sort of the whole Thanos thing was looming, starting to really loom at that point. Um,
Mhm.
did I realize, what all this, and by then, you have to go back. By then, I had gone back to start watching the movies again because you had to catch up before you got to the last two movies, the Infinity Saga, the Infinity Wars or whatever. Um, so yeah, I think the movie, the whole series became richer once I realized though this is what they were doing with all these
Mhm.
characters and whatnot. And it wasn't just putting it in there for fun or for gimmicky, which they have done, which we admit they have done a lot of that, where they just throw in characters as a gimmick and we never see them again. But I will say that that wasn't the case here. That wasn't this movie's issue.
Okay. Merv, did you realize this movie had big ramifications for the rest of the storyline?
I want to say yes, and largely because that's it comes back to like why I do kind of consider this an Avengers movie is because it's essentially a breakup of the Avengers. Like this is their uh, breaking off point of okay, well now these guys and these guys aren't on the same page, heading into like Act 3 of the Infinity Saga. Um, so like that groundwork alone, the fact that we're taking Tony Stark and Steve Rogers, who are two, I would argue, the most pivotal characters within the Avengers group, no matter what their team around them consists of. Two of the most influential heroes in this world for sure, and we're pitting them directly against each other with a major conflict. And sure, we know their chances of them ironing things out and getting over it are pretty high, just because you know they had such a relationship and such a history. But especially at the time, it's like, yeah, I mean, this Zemo's plan does work. This does fracture the heroes. This
Hmm.
brings this Avengers Empire crumbling down albeit temporarily, until Thanos shows up and starts uniting people again,
Yeah.
through his threat.
I would
But yeah,
say that there are three major tentpoles in this Avengers group: that Captain America, Iron Man, but also Thor. And since Thor was out of the way, when the cat is from home, the mice dance on the table. Sorry, that's a Dutch saying. I don't think it's an English saying, but it
they make
basically means if daddy is away, the children will play.
yeah.
And yeah, so
And if anyone is daddy, it's going to be Chris Hemsworth's Thor, right?
yeah, yeah,
I get where you were going with
yeah, yeah,
that. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
I
I
didn't
agree.
Would
realize
you like
Thor was.
him to be your daddy?
I didn't even realize Thor wasn't in this movie.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he wasn't.
Oh yeah, I
yeah.
remember Thor was in that movie.
Hulk wasn't either, by the way. But anyway, enough
Oh
about
yeah.
that. Before we get really corny, let's do a rating for Captain America Civil War, or aka Avengers 2.5. Although I strongly disagree with that because of the Cap Bucky story. But anyway. Having put that out there, it's a Captain America movie, people, not an Avengers movie. Merv, can I have your number for Captain America Civil War?
Well, I'll just say real quick that this is pretty much all of Wanda and Vision's interaction is in this movie. They meet in Ultron, and then they more or less fall in love in this movie, and then by the time Infinity War happens, they're just about to get broken apart and cause all of that stuff for Wanda. So this is like their honeymoon phase,
Mm, yeah.
kind of. Um, yeah, it's an easy 10 out of 10 for me. This is easily one of the most rewatchable and entertaining MCU movies for me. I'd probably put it on right now if we weren't doing this. So you know what I mean. It's just such a great movie for all the reasons we mentioned. I do have one brief negative that doesn't even deduct it a tenth of a point, but the fact that they brought Thunderbolt Ross back in this movie, and they added the character Everett Ross, and they call both of them Ross, bugged me because I was getting myself mixed up, because I was like, oh, he told Ross. Wait, which Ross? There's two Rosses in this. We might as well be on the set of Friends. So that was the only hiccup for me.
Yeah, I
But
was
it doesn't
about to
even.
say we're lucky that David Schwimmer was in it. It wasn't in it. Yeah,
Fingers
that would have
crossed.
been confusing. Missed opportunity, Marvel. By the way. Uh, yeah, no, never mind. Loki's mom, can I have your number for Captain America Civil War? And I'm curious because you were kind of harsh on it.
Hmm. Well, like I say, I have to take off some off the top. It definitely is one of the top movies, but just for my own personal peeves, I'm going to shave off a few points. I'm going to give it an 8.5, and this is an uh, Captain America plus Iron Man movie.
Okay, I can live with it. I will also give it a 10 out of 10. This was my favorite movie. I gave the Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy a 10 out of 10. I cannot say that this is not a 10 out of 10. It's absolutely one of the best MCU movies ever made. And like Murph, I didn't rewatch this for our review because, yeah, I have seen every movie in the MCU like hundreds of times. But I definitely am looking forward to seeing this movie in my Doomsday challenge, which is still at 2 movies out done. But anyway, that's we're going slow but steady. Anyway, that will conclude our discussion today. And I have nothing left to do than to make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And join our conversation on Sakar. Sakar.freeforms.net. Just click in the link in the description that will get you to the setup an account page, and then you can join our discussion and tell me how wrong I am for saying this is a Captain America movie, or tell Merv how wrong he is for saying this is an Avengers movie. Well, we'll see. You tell Merv. Next time, things will turn very strange. For more MCU content, you can also check out our latest episode. My English is really bad today. In our Daredevil Born Again review series. And there's also a brand new episode in our Mole Shadow Lord series. For now, I wish you all to be safe and be well. This is Grandmaster signing off.